I was personally compelled to get in the race this year because I think we face a choice in November. We're at a crossroads, and not only here in Southwest Ohio, but nationwide. And the decision is between, are we going to follow the path of optimism and a hopeful future and a belief that government is a good thing and can serve our interests, or the visceral, negative, poisonous, toxic atmosphere that we've seen come out of the far right. And I think one of their cheerleaders to date has been my opponent, John Boehner. It's difficult to talk about this race without talking about the fact that John Boehner is the minority leader. And so what happens here has an impact not only across Ohio, but across the country. It is a source of embarrassment, I think, for people here to see that sort of, you know, whether it's weeping on the floor of the House, or certainly, I think, more, you know, gets more reaction from people, from voters here, is that anger that we saw in the healthcare debate. That sort of screaming and you know, cussing on the floor is not the sort of representation that people from this part of Ohio want to see in their representative. I think it's just one more symptom of somebody who's out of touch with the voters, and who also is, you know, maybe sort of lost their sense of statesmanship and their responsibility as a public servant to maintain decorum and carry themselves in a way that's reflective of their office and of the people who put them in that office. I'm a working middle class person, just like most of the people in our district. You know, I'm a husband and a father and an employee and a taxpayer and a veteran and a lawyer and a homeowner. And so I understand in a very real way, and my family understands in a very real way, the issues that face the constituents in the 8th District. You know, these things they're not foreign, they're not abstract to us. We understand, you know, the difficulty in finding a job, or the fear of losing your job. It's very difficult for most people to name 3 things in 20 years that John Boehner has done for the 8th District. This is not a person who has brought many things back to the district. In fact, he has a stand against earmarks and refuses to request earmarks for the 8th District. Now, he has no problem with signing legislation that includes earmarks for every other congressional district in the country. And if we don't have an advocate for us in Congress, then we won't ever see any of those dollars. You know, there's libraries and schools and roads that need to be built right here in the 8th District that could benefit from somebody who would fight for our share of the federal dollars. So as far as what he's done, I'm hard-pressed to say what he's accomplished. I can say the things, you know, the greatest misses of John Boehner are things like consistent votes against increases to the minimum wage, consistent votes against equal pay for women, consistent votes against any sort of regulation or reform of Wall Street, even after he voted for the bank bailout. So this is somebody who has the highest double standards in Washington. He has no problem supporting the fat cat Wall Street bankers, and has met with them and in so many words said, you need to support me and the Republican Party, because we're the party that will defend you against reform and regulation. And while at the same time, you know, agreeing to bail them out 2 years ago. He's voted consistently against any sort of reform of the healthcare in this country. And in 2009 alone, from Mr. Boehner's own records from his own office, he hosted 119 golf outings in 1 year. So, you know, the only thing I have to say about tans or lack thereof is, if you spend a third of the year on a golf course, then I can understand where you probably have a tan. And I would ask, you know, if you're spending a third of the year on the golf course, then when are you representing the people's interests? When are you working as a public servant? And that's another one of those statistics that I think a lot of people in the district are unaware of and would be outraged by. I don't think people would tolerate anyone, you know, most people in any job, let alone their representative in Congress, spending a third of the year on a golf course. And that's just, you know, what the days we know of.